And the final thing is, no topic is off limits. You know, we're not politically correct around here, and so so we welcome any and all discussions, from, you know, spouse marriage things, inheritance, child rearing, religion, politics. You know, it's all on the table. There's no taboos and no tiptoeing around here. So feel free to just come in with anything that you want to come in with. Other than that, I think we're good, and we're going to go the route. We're going to go to the broilers first, and the turkeys, and the eggmobile, and the pigs, and then we'll come back through here and finish up at the cows and the feather net over on the far side of the farm, and then we'll come right back around here and finish up right here. Okay, so there's room, so jump on. So what are the principles that we developed over time? Well, one is portability. You know, you look at nature, look at animals in nature, they don't stay in one place, do they? They're always moving to a new place, and that movement is what keeps them pathogen free, keeps them on new ground, keeps them away from because animals aren't very well potty trained, and so it keeps them away from yesterday's toilet area and lets it recover. And so movement. Well, if you're going to have movement on a commercial domestic farm scale, you got to have portable infrastructure as well. You know, shelter, because you can't just turn these animals out with no shelter. So we developed a portable chicken shelter. This is still our centerpiece enterprise. Is the pasture broiler. We move these guys every day to a fresh spot. I'll move one here for you just to show you how we do it. So you that breaking ground contact. And then first, just walk on the ground to the next spot. Salad bar. So every morning they all get moved to a fresh salad bar. And of course, they come out at between 2 and 3 weeks old. They're real small, and so the shelters protect them from predators, from weather, and because they get a fresh spot of ground every day, they actually eat way more grass than in a free-range situation where they're not rotated very often. Because animals have a palatability index just like you and I. I don't know about you, but I'm a very discriminatory ice cream eater. I only eat ice cream if I'm alone or with somebody. And the animals are the same way. They have a palatability index. They like their ice cream as well. And so so if you give them a great big area and just leave them there for example, we run 500 birds per acre. Over the time, they get a whole acre every 500 birds. Well, they don't get it all at once, they get it in pieces. If you gave them, for that 8-week period of time, if you gave them that whole acre, the last 3 weeks they wouldn't be eating anything because they would have eaten out all the ice cream the first day. So by moving them every day, they actually ingest way more green material than if you gave them the whole area for the 2-month period of time. You with me? And that is a fundamental, absolutely a fundamental principle of what we do, is to try to create a circumstance that allows every animal to ingest ingest as much green material, salad bar, as that species can possibly ingest, because it's the green material that's the key to the polyunsaturated fat, to the omega-3s, the riboflavins, the folic acid, all those great nutritional profiles. It's all about the salad bar. So what we've done here is to create a model that allows us to move these birds right along. Now, those chickens don't like real long grass because they can't masticate it very well. They like it nice and short. So we bring the cows ahead of them to graze the grass down, so that when the poultry comes across it, it's short, tender, little shoots. Birds like sprouts, you know, and so it's tender and short and very palatable for them, again, to increase the ingestion of the green material. Now, a couple interesting things that are happening here. One is that obviously there's no manure to haul. They're dropping. You can see the squares. All right, we're moving everything forward this way, so you can see. And the reason they're staggered is so that we don't waste any ground between shelters, providing us ground to be able to access them. If you ran them all in a straight line across here, you'd have to put 3 feet between them just to be able to get the doors open and all that stuff. And then you'd have a zebra striped field. You waste all that ground. So staggered allows this. The other thing is that if you have a heavy rain like we had this weekend, if you have surface runoff, and guarantee you there was some surface runoff here, what that means is that as the water runs down the hill, the water running through one shelter doesn't run into another one. And that's critical for sanitation and hygiene, that sort of thing. The other thing that's interesting here is that this is a very light footprinted infrastructure. You'll hear themes throughout the morning, and one of them is the infrastructure is a light footprint, as opposed to, say, a Tyson chicken house that dominates the landscape and of course stinks it up for miles, but that's another issue. The point is that it's a very dominant structure in the landscape. It dominates the trees, it dominates the landscape. This is nested in to the landscape so that it's not nearly as obtrusive. and we like that from a landscape standpoint. It's a much more nested, embedded kind of system. What's happened in industrial agriculture is that the infrastructure has become so huge, and the ramifications so anti-human, from smell, aesthetics, all that. I mean, what we want is an aesthetically and aromatically, sensually romantic. We're standing here amongst, we've got 400 turkeys down there. We've got 1,500 layers right there. We've got 2,000 broilers right here. What do you smell? Nothing. Yeah. And so the beauty of this is that although this is a very commercial production model, most of us wouldn't mind living right here. Okay, and so that allows us to take the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker and nest them back into the village. What's happened over this industrial period is that the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker have gotten to a scale, to a waste stream, to all sorts of things that have made it need to go outside the village, outside the community, and therefore become opaque. And opaque sectors of the economy always make environmental, emotional, and economic shortcuts. So if we're going to re-embed the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker in a village, it requires not only a human scale, but an appropriate infrastructure design that is not so obtrusive in the village structure. And finally, and I'll open up for questions, finally, the beauty of this is that it is stacking an additional income on the farm that is not capital intensive and creates additional income opportunities that are complementary to other things. And so as we stand here, this field was grazed a couple times early in the spring, and of course the eggmobiles came behind the cows. Then we mowed it for hay, and now we've run turkeys on it. Now we're running broilers on it. We just grazed it again ahead of the cows. We'll graze it again later this fall behind the chickens. So you add those, the turkeys, the broilers, the eggmobiles, and the cows. You add all those enterprises up on a given a given acre, and instead of generating just $200 a year like the other beef cattle farms in the area, this is generating $8,000 an acre. Now suddenly you have an income for a next generation to come onto a small farm and actually make a living. One of the big problems in agriculture today is that with single species, capital intensive, depreciable infrastructure, the hurdle for entry is so high for young people, it's very difficult to get into farming. And whenever there's an economic sector in which the hurdles of entry are very high for young people, if the young people can't get in, the old people can't get out. And that's what we've got right now in agriculture. If you check with Virginia Tech's Ag Economics Department, you'll find that they're estimating that within the next 15 years, almost 50% of the nation and Virginia's farmland will change hands, because the average farmer is now almost 60 years old. And so that means we're in a very disturbing time in